So, in your last 2 decades of experience, how you help your staff to learn and adapt this company culture which you're talking?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a few examples just before, but of course, from a leadership perspective or entrepreneur perspective, you need to take that responsibility on your shoulders to start that culture building, you can say. And that's what I mean by, I think a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs could win a lot, actually, by looking into the culture building as a crucial part of their building the company. Because that's what steers the ship towards success, as I mentioned before. So how do you do that in your daily operations, so to speak? Yeah, you first and foremost, you start being aware of this is a crucial part of building a successful company, right? That you need to build your people and you need to build together with them, build a culture to become the company culture. And you steer that culture from the core of values, as I mentioned before, the company values, the values you have set forth and say, this is the values of the company. This is the values I think is the most crucial for the team and for the company as a whole. And the company's why, which means the vision. What is the vision behind your company? What is the why? You need to formulate that. From those values and that why, that's actually the core of everything you're building. That's even the core that people are attracted to. That's the vision and the why that you as a leader radiate to the world, hopefully as a visionary, because that's what attracts the right people for your team. So these people you attract are willing to do whatever it takes together with you to build success. That's also why I sometimes talk about, in my own teams, talk about that a 9-to-5 mentality is extremely difficult to build a strong culture around. So the point about a 9-to-5 mentality and why we do in my teams, in my companies, do whatever we can to avoid a 9-to-5 mentality is not because it's much more about mindset than about that you just want, more hours from your people. That's not the point. The point is not, I want you to work 60 hours or 70 or 80 hours a week without me giving you any kind of extra support or whatever it is. No, that's not the point. The point is a mindset thing. It's very difficult from a company culture and a company, I would say, mindset to build anything good around. Because what it takes to build success as a company is the capability or ability to actually identify for all the people involved, identify with that culture, with those values, with that why, with that vision. When you succeed doing that, and that's your obligation, that's your responsibility as a leader to make sure that happens. When that happens, then all your people are identified, deeply identified with the vision, with the why, with the values, with the goals. Then the result is a given, if you ask me. The result is a given, it's positive results. So what I try to point out here is about the culture. Culture is absolutely crucial. And as a leader, you need to take responsibility for that culture, but at the same time, understand that culture is not something you build alone. Culture is built together with everyone involved. But it starts from the why of the company. It starts from the values of the company. And this why and these values might come from you if you're an entrepreneur, or it comes from the company, the corporation you work in. But you need to integrate those values and that why in the way you build your team and build your and that will build a strong culture. And you need to steer that process. You need to be aware of the importance of this and steer daily. Mentor your people, help your people, nurse your people so they understand this, and help them to identify with this at a very, very deep level.
So have you felt any point of time like you are a European entrepreneur and you are settling your business in the Asian country, so how this, because your company culture or the culture overall is quite different about approach towards the works and professionalism. So do you find that as challenging? I know you as a person, like you are a global mindset person, but do you find that as a challenging part of while building this company culture in the another part of the world, if I say?
There's different challenges, and with that I mean that the way people look at their work can be very different. I would say, bear with me, so to speak, because this is not something you can generalize in any way.
Yeah.
But just from my experience during the last 2 decades working globally, I would say it takes a bit more in the part of the world I come from, especially in Northern Europe, maybe especially Scandinavia, to create what I talk about here, because there is a strong belief among many in that part of the world that work and living your life is 2 different things. I have to mention here, this is not about that you as a leader or an entrepreneur just expect your people to work all the time. That's not the point here. It's a mindset thing. But if you separate too much what you see as my life and then I have work, it's very difficult to get the mindset right when it comes to identification with the common purpose, with the why of the company. I mean, when I talk about identification, it's kind of the need of becoming one entity. Where things are just becoming one. And when I say things, I mean, of course, the why with the people who take responsibility of realizing that why. That takes the necessity of identify with that why. But if you have a general mindset in the culture, I would say general, right? Because it's not all people, but a general mindset in the culture where you have to separate those 2. Company is, I work to get paid every month so I can live my life. in my opinion, that makes it very, very, not very, very, but it makes it more difficult to create this kind of deep identification with the why and with the culture in the company, and that can become or create some obstacles of actually creating a very strong culture around that why and the values in the company. And I actually believe in another approach, and again, it has nothing to do with I just think all people should work all the time, because it's not quantity I'm talking here. It's a mindset thing. It's what you identify. To me, it's and I know not all people believe this, and not all people are capable of doing this or wants to do this. Even though they believed in it. But I think to me it's important that whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or whatever job you have, it doesn't matter. To me it's really important to strive for something that you are really passionate about. And when you find that passion in whatever you do, and that can be anything, right? Something you are really passionate about, something that really means a lot to you as a person, that you really want to excel in, right? Job and life becomes one. So, and the funny part, if you ask me, your life also become a much more happy life. Instead of have created a life where you sacrifice 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so you can live your life. Why create such a life? Why? Shouldn't we strive to mix those two things together? That let those things become one, so you don't have the feeling of sacrificing 8 hours. 8 hours a day, right? 8 hours a day is a third of your life. Think about that. If you become 90 years old, I believe many millennials and Gen Zs, the younger generations, might average become that, right? 90 years old, let's say. That's 30 years. You have sacrificed 30 years with that mindset. And another 30 years you slipped away. So a 90-year span, you live your life 30 years. So I would certainly, I think when I get the chance in different occasions, or where I'm interviewed, or whatever events where I can speak this idea, I always do it because it kind of put things into perspective. What really matters, and your life matters. Your life matters. And don't sacrifice a third of your life that you have to go to work being a bit sad about it, but you have to go because you have to take care of your family.
Yeah.
Find something else to do. Follow your passion. And that's the people I attract in my teams, or try to attract in my teams. Some of them might come with that mindset, but I see a deeper potential in reshaping that mindset, nursing the strong, passionate parts in that employee to bloom, so to speak, so they become more passionate about what they do, find their own why, and find their own fire, right? Drive. Your fire, your inner drive comes from when you find your why. When you find what you are really passionate about, that's what you should do. That's also why I, maybe not every day, but quite often, tell the people who I work with that don't waste your time here in this company. If you sit and dream about what you want to do out there, take responsibility for your life, take responsibility for take your freedom, take your responsibility and create the life you really dream of. Don't sit here and dream of what you want to do out there. Go get it. Go get it now. I really wish that for everyone. But if you might have some fire in what you do right here, to be a part of that family and that common vision and that common why we have together here in the company, or other companies I have or have built in the past, then I'm here ready to help, to nurse that even more, to mentor you even more into becoming that passionate, on fire and drive that really creates a happy life for you and fulfill your biggest dreams. This is so absolutely crucial, I would say. And I really wish for everyone on the planet that they would dare, so to speak, to look for their own why, so to speak, or their own, what are they really passionate about, to not sacrifice most of their life in doing a work which really that they're really not passionate about and really don't want, because they have other dreams. So it will be felt like a sacrifice. That's a third, as I said, and the other third, you're sleeping away, right? Because you have to have your sleep, right? So don't do that. Don't do that. I know, and of course I know, that it might be difficult for some people, maybe even many people, to do that. And but I actually think all people have the potential to follow their why, or at least follow that makes them happy. Try to do that in what you do, also in the 8 hours of work.
I guess that's why the Scandinavian countries are so top on the chart of the happiness, because I think they are not considering like, okay, I'm sacrificing my work life, or I'm compromising somewhere. So they are enjoying every part of it, which is a very nice thought from you. So now we move on to our next question, Jonathan. So how do you spark action and creativity in your companies?
That's a very crucial part, as in the culture, you can say, what kind of culture you build here. And to me it's important that your people feel safe.
Okay.
It starts with feeling safe, because when people feel safe, they are willing to do whatever it takes. I would say sacrifice even on behalf of the company, on behalf of the why, the common journey we are on. All that starts with the feeling of safety, security. And security and safety is actually, a handful of things. It's of course that people are paid in a decent way, meaning that they can take care of the family from the paycheck they get. Okay, so no kind of underpayment, so to speak. So that you should always strive for, of course. That's your responsibility as a leader and as an entrepreneur, right? But it also comes what kind of culture you build in general in the company. For example, do you build a culture where it's okay to make mistakes, or the opposite? In my companies, we have a very strong focus on the first part. Mistakes, you should strive for making mistakes. It sounds maybe opposite, but when you strive for making mistakes, so to speak, you actually set yourself free in the innovative process. Because you have nothing to fear. When you set yourself free, you set your own innovative capability free to really think big, to really strive high. And that's where the best ideas come from. But if you do the opposite as a leader, that mistakes are not good, or you should fear making mistakes, the people you have around you will not come up with very innovative, creative ideas. Because they cannot set themselves free, because they will constantly feel fear for making mistakes. Okay, so the culture I always build is the culture that mistakes are totally okay, but learn from them. And that's different, right? You can make mistakes, it's okay, but learn from them when we make them. Because all of us, especially me, makes a lot of mistakes. And we should actually, I would say, welcoming the mistakes because of the points I just pointed out, right? That, when mistakes is totally okay in the culture, it's not the same thing as saying that, let's strive for mistakes all the time. No, it has set your people free, all of us free, to actually make the best innovative, creative ideas possible. That's where you actually grow a fantastic winner team, because they feel the safety, so to speak, the security, because you take care of them 360. You take 100% care of your family. That's the point. Your people is your family. You have to understand that as a leader. When you understand that and begin to radiate that and work from that perspective, in everything you do, you are there 100% for your people, always, 24/7. When you do that, you create a strong team, and a team who feel secure, who strive together with you to improve, to build the best possible brand or company you can imagine. So yeah, culture around, you could say, your people needs to feel safe, secure, taken care of 100%, together with a culture that are welcoming mistakes, actually, because it sets your people free to innovate at a maximum scale. Be creative at a maximum scale. So, yeah.
Very fair enough. But in day-to-day operations, I believe sometimes definitely you face that your co-workers are having some sort of disagreements and they are coming to you regarding that. So how you solve those problems?
Yeah, of course you can say we are all people, right? With our own, struggles and different interesting behaviors and also different mentality, mindset and so forth, personalities. So how do you create that space? It comes from the same perspective as I just mentioned before, but it also comes from, I would say, that you create a culture where people take responsibility for themselves and for their team, and therefore actually for the company as a whole. When you create that, even across cultures, because this matter you are addressing is very different across culture. But you make that space and make that culture that people take responsibility for their own actions. And actions is not just what you do daily, but also what you think and what you feel. So when you have a clash between personalities, say, and then our culture is that this kind of clashes or some wrongdoings was made, or the feeling of the other, the co-worker has done something wrong, whatever it is. When you take responsibility for that, it's not just accepting living with it. It's actually addressing it and confronting it. So the culture we build here is that you have the responsibility to actually confront it, but you do it in a respectful way. Okay, without criticizing, without bombarding the co-worker or the involved people with a lot of BS, so to speak, or critique, but an adult conversation of the wrongdoing that was made, say, or the problem that has occurred. So putting people together and solve the challenges is a part of the role of being a leader and being in a role of helping, nursing, mentoring, developing your people. It's actually very down to developing people's personality, or developing people's psychological negative patterns and obstacles they find, right? Helping them solve their challenges is a crucial part of being a leader, if you ask me. And this is a part of it. The point you addressed. It's absolutely crucial, because what happens if you don't do anything about it? You destroy the culture. You destroy the strong team identification, because people begin to build a certain belief. They point at certain co-workers. You cannot have that. You cannot build a strong team if you have any problems or challenges between peers. That's not possible. So you have to do something about it. No one is able. I know some people think they are, but in the end of the day, no one is actually able 100% to just let it go. So the idea of, no, I cannot confront, I cannot address, because what will happen from that, or whatever, one might think or feel, cannot just leave it 100%. That will grow in you. Even when you push it down, it will grow in you, and you will change the way you look at your coworker, which you have the problem with, say. Okay? So you have to address it, you have to confront it. So it's more a matter of how you do that than whether you do it. It's a given you do it, you have to do it. But how do we do it? How do we work on helping each other to the next levels? Because that's actually what personal development is about. And this is personal development, because this is actually the good part, I would say. When you have the willingness and the faith and the strength to actually address and confront these things, but in a good, respectful, and common and with a common focus on growing together mindset, right? You are actually developing your own personality. And the situation can be changed from a challenge and obstacle to a huge opportunity to bring it together between two parties up to next level. But this will never get the chance to become that next level if you don't have the gut, have the strength to actually address it, and confront it. So a part of my role in this is to actually helping creating this mindset in all the people in the organization. And yeah, as I said, just before, it's really different from culture to culture. We have cultures around the globe where this is really not something good. And then you have other cultures in the world where it's very easy for them, where it's natural to just confront each other. But the leadership role might not be about giving the perspective of the confrontation is necessary or addressing is necessary because it's more natural. There it might be to help the situation not to happen, because it will happen, but that it happens in the right way. So that's a bit different, right? So the leadership role is to actually to bring it to that next level, and that it happens in a respectful and I would say progressive way instead of destructive way, because that is also what confrontations can do. If it's done wrong, it can be destructive for the people involved and therefore for the organization as a whole. So it's a balance, all this we're talking about, but it's absolutely crucial, because you cannot just leave things out and say, oh, I don't want to think about this happened. And the funny thing is, and you learn about this when you begin to look into yourself and your own patterns, as I addressed earlier in the conversation, the importance of, as if you want to really become a good leader, you need to develop yourself, so to speak, and have that motivation of looking in the mirror and develop yourself and look at your own negative traits and patterns and all that. But the good thing is that when you do that, you actually learn about other people, because you are other people are you. It's the same psychological patterns, right? It can be a bit different, because we're unique human beings, right? But the size of the problem or the challenge can be different, all that. But in the end of the day, it's the same patterns. So studying yourself, working with yourself, your own obstacles, you actually indirectly learn to work and see other people. And that's where you actually become a mentor more than a leader. And that's what maybe the crucial part is, to understand what a leader really is. Leadership is much more than just the word leader. Leadership has nothing to do with power, say. I address that because I know a lot of people who wants to become leaders. It's more power thing. But leadership, real leader, to want to become a real leader or good leader, it has nothing to do with power or that you make the decisions. Then you totally misunderstand what it is all about. Being a good leader is about everything we have addressed in this conversation. And I didn't mention power or single decision making at any time. And there's a reason for that. You need to be able and willing to take that responsibility on your shoulders, that you might end up making that decision. And it's your responsibility because you are the CEO, or you are the entrepreneur, whatever it is, or you are the CMO, whatever it is, right? Or the manager. But that's not the same thing that is what motivates you. Because what should motivate you is much more people related than decision making related or power related. I would say it's a deep misunderstanding. And those who are much more into that is often not good leaders, if you ask me, my opinion. The best leaders have understood that leadership has much more to do with people, or people related, as I said, than anything else. And it's leadership has nothing to do with being boss or bossy. Again, a misunderstanding. You might lead the way. You lead the way by being the example of that way, of that path in everything. And that starts from your own personality. But a good leader is much more than that, even. A good leader point out the direction and make sure that no one is left behind on that path, on that journey you have together. That actually means that as a leader, you are not in front of your people. You are behind your people. Can you see the difference? This is actually, it might take some time to really understand that. But if you understand the depth in that, you really begin to walk the path of being a true and good leader. And the result from being that is success in the outer world. And with the outer world, I mean it will be success for the team, the group, the company you build.
Thanks for your answer, Jonathan. While ending this episode, I want to know for our viewers and the listener, the people who are going to start their journey towards leadership, what should be their first approach and how they should start?
Before they start, they should consider.
Okay.
And the consideration should be that they should ask themselves a few questions. And some of those questions I would very strongly suggest is related to some of the topics we have been through in this conversation today. But just to point a few out, they should ask themselves, am I willing to work with myself, to work with my personality, to strive for becoming a better person, better human being, work with those obstacles I have, with those, negative patterns we all have, right? Are you willing to look at them? Are you willing to look in the mirror? Are you that kind of person? Another question you should ask yourself is, am I a person that where taking a bigger responsibility comes natural to me? Do I actually want to take responsibility? As a leader, you cannot have a mindset, you cannot have a mentality where you keep on explaining mistakes, wrongdoings from what happens outside you. Everything happening is, in the end of the day, your responsibility. So it's not the fault of your team. It's not your fault of your partners, stakeholders, shareholders, competitors, the society, the world, COVID-19. That's a wrong mindset. That's a wrong mentality. You have to get that right, and you have to be willing to take responsibility at that level. Don't you have that in you? Do you more have a mentality of you always try to explain things, wrongdoings? It's other people's fault kind of thing.
Or coming with excuses.
Same thing, yes. Coming with excuses for what is happening. It's really difficult to become a good leader, if you ask me. I know a lot of leaders, do this, but it's difficult to be a good leader if you have that mindset, so to speak. And last but not least, I would mention that you have to be willing to sacrifice. Meaning, you have to be willing to work your butt off. I know this might go a bit against some people's understanding of leadership, but it's very, very difficult to be a leader if you not take that role 100%. Just from all the points I have mentioned or I have addressed during this conversation, you can see leadership is much more than just being in charge. It's much more than just point out some KPIs or goals. Yeah. It's much more than just, improving the revenue line or the profit line. It's much more than just about telling or point out this strategy for the company or whatever it is. It's much more than that. It's about being there 100% for the people you have around you 24/7. So that means your people's challenges, your people's problems is your challenges. It's your challenge and your problem. So that actually takes a lot. And it means that you're willing to, I call it work your butt off.
But if you want to round up this, how you will say about it?
Yeah, if you as an upcoming leader or have interested in leadership, you ask these 3 questions as I just mentioned, and then if your answer comes out positive, I would say, then bring it to the next level, and that is test it. Everything is about testing also in a company, right? So test yourself. So try to get yourself in that position where you get some bigger responsibility, and especially on the people management side. So strive to, to get in a position of people management and test whether you like it or not. And remember the, I would say, crucial points we have addressed in this conversation today, about what leader or what true leadership is really about. Test that in yourself, so to speak, by bringing yourself in that position. That's the best you can do. Either you like it or you hate it, and there you have your answer whether you should climb that leadership ladder or not.
So testing approach should be going to be very crucial for a leader.
A testing approach? Yeah, you can say that. I really believe in a testing approach, whatever we're talking about, whether it's you trying to developing new skills or jump into deep water, so to speak. Test yourself. It's absolutely crucial for personal development. And it's the same for the career ladder or the leadership ladder. You need to test yourself. You need to bring yourself into that position and push yourself, so to speak. Strive to be or jump into deep water. It's absolutely crucial because it, kind of pushes you to new levels. And at the same time, you can say a testing approach in, the company culture is also crucial. If you ask me, it's actually how you get data, and on these data, hopefully you can make the right decisions. So a testing approach is always a very good approach to have.
So thanks for such a lovely conversation over a cup of coffee and sharing your wisdom about leadership and company culture. Thank you for watching this episode. You can subscribe the below link and share this video. And if you have any comments, suggestion or question, you can put on the below comment section. We will love to see that. For more upcoming interesting topic we are going to cover in Coffee Talk with Jonathan. Stay tuned.